This episode is proudly brought to you by our wonderful sponsors at Griffin Air Conditioning. Visit them at griffinair.com.au. The great ones, they're different. They really are. Not better, just different. Sure, there's a physical power, a mental strength, a complex but resolute constitution too. There's a whole lot more than just the measurables. That's something else, that intangible. It separates us from them. Welcome to the Legends series on Andy Raymond Unfiltered. It's not always how you look without a jersey on, it's what's underneath that jersey that really matters. The little ones may well have the biggest hearts. This one, he's a premiership winner and a Blue, and his story is only half written. But who is Adam Reynolds?
It's sort of a hard question to sort of answer, Andy. There's a lot of things you want to see yourself as, but for me and how I value myself, honest, hardworking, resilient, someone you can count on. Someone likes to have a good time, and most importantly, there for when you need it. I've got a lot of close mates who open up to me, and they feel like they can because I've been honest and trustworthy. And I just like to be someone that young kids look up to and aspire to be one day.
It's 2020. We're all busy. Some people find it difficult to find that work-life balance. You're a professional footballer. You've got 4 young kids. Have you found that balance?
I've probably close to mastering it, to be honest.
Good man.
If anything, mate, I find footy to be a hobby and not so much a job. So it's something that I do because I love, and I get outdoors. I love being active. I love a challenge. I love standing up to haters and doubters. And if anything, mate, I'm a father first. I'm a husband, and second, mate, I've got a job that I love doing. So it's pretty easy for me to leave home and go to footy and enjoy something that I do. I love the challenge of it, day in, day out, and the physical side and the mental side of things. And obviously, love being at home with my 4 children and wife. There's a lot of memorable moments in my life through my kids, and I'm living my younger years again through them.
Great position to be in mentally, mate, because as you and I both know, a lot of young footballers can become obsessed with football and the football culture, and you do need to move away from it at times to, retain a bit of clarity and perspective on the world.
Yeah, that's right. At the end of the day, it's just a game. And that's what we've got to realise. There's a lot that goes into it, obviously, from a business side of things. But as players, we've got to realise that it's just a game. And, there's a lot of internet trolls that get out there and try and break you down mentally. And, we've got to revert back to the mentality that it's just a game. And, we're doing it because we love it. Obviously, some players have different reasons. But if you look at it, as a pressure situation, you can let it get to you, and that's when obviously things get a bit tough. But it's important to have that balance outside of football and a focus away from football. It's easy enough to get your mind away from it and take you to a different place, because it does get stressful at times and it does get hard. But you can revert back to just your outside world and having that thought in the back of your mind that it is just a game at the end. I find you get yourself away from all those negative comments and then people with those thoughts.
Hey, what are your first memories of the game? Anything in particular? Was it you playing? Was it you supporting the Rabbitohs?
Playing with my older brother. Just me and my older brother Wayne. He was basically the star as a kid, and I just wanted to be like him. So whatever he was doing, I was following in his footsteps. And my earliest memories are probably tackling him in the hallway at home in Redfern there, and trying to bash him here and there, and then get the shits when he got over the top of me. So
It doesn't ever work out well for the younger brother. I'm sorry, mate. It's normally the older brother that wins those ones.
Mate, he won 99% of them.
Yeah.
I think the 1% I beat him was when he sort of felt sorry for me or didn't want to cop any high tackles or anything. So
you were born in 1990. The first 9 years of your life, South Sydney didn't play the finals. Then they were expelled from the competition for 2 years in 2000, 2001. Does your memory go back that far?
Yeah, I can remember going to games with my brother and my dad. When they played the Tomahawks at Redfern Oval, the old Redfern Oval.
Yep.
They played Lebanon. I can remember those games. I remember them getting kicked out of the comp, and the fight was amazing. The fight was unreal.
Yeah.
Knowing a bit more about it now, obviously I've got a bit more gratitude towards the people who stood up for South Sydney, and
yep.
What a job they done. If they didn't do that job today, I might not have a job. So, look, I've got a lot of great memories. Obviously, the first Charity Shield they come back, I can remember that game pretty clearly, and the enjoyment it brought to not only my family but many supporters around the world.
What a celebration that was. I mean, that was more than just a game, that Charity Shield. That was a celebration of Souths fans, but rugby league fans everywhere that wanted to see Souths back.
Yeah, that's right. And you only have to look at the march. There's so many photos there of people in, Parramatta jerseys, Tigers jerseys. It could have been the biggest rivals in the Roosters, and they had fans there. So it just showed the passion and support, the impact it had, not only across the South community, but the NRL, ARL community in general.
Want to know what's coming up on the Legends series? Stalk us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at @TheAndyRaymond.
As a young man, you had a dream, and that was to play for South Sydney. You grew up across the road from Redfern Oval. You were wonderful to watch as a young fella coming through the grades. And in those early years, there's normally a team that's made up of the big kid, the fast kid, the talented kid, and the crazy, aggressive kid. Which one were you as a teenager?
I was the scrawny little... I probably didn't have as much talent as most of the other blokes. I wasn't big, certainly. I was probably 50, 60 kilos ringing wet at 16 years old. I can remember being pretty good on my feet and probably avoiding a lot of the big boys. So, obviously that and what everyone talks about now is the kicking game. I pretty much had that from a young kid. I grew up with a hand in ball through the streets of Redfern and Waterloo, and played numerous of games. Whether it be aiming at light poles in the street, hitting stop signs, just being a rug lad around the street.
Yeah.
So I think that plays a part into obviously evolving the skills and, mastering them on the field.
Just as everything started looking positive and you were getting close to living that dream of first grade, you tore your knee to bits. What do you recall from 2011?
It was a pretty hard year, to be honest. I got into the first grade squad and was competing day in, day out with Chrissy Sandow, who I've got a lot of respect for. He's certainly a bloke I looked up to early on in my career. I just enjoyed the challenge of it day in, day out at training, trying to get over the blokes who were regular first graders and, always tried to get that second team to outperform the first team on the training paddock, and things were looking pretty good. And, started getting some combinations with a few fellows there who were on the fringe of first grade and formed some great mateships through that time. And, coming up to our first trial, I simply just tried to put in a grubber in goals. It was one of those days where the second team was on fire, and we tried to put a little grubber through on one of the early tackles and just simply landed on it wrong, or can't really put into words how it happened, but sort of just went over on it and knew it was pretty serious straight away. Never felt anything like that in my life, and the swelling was there straight away. And obviously when I got the news from the doctor, I was pretty shattered and went through a bit of a tough time. I basically got through my rehab by going up the train every day and putting on a brave face, and then obviously getting to the pub in the afternoon, having a few schooners to wind down and go home and whinge to the partner, now wife, about whether it's worth it or not. But I'm glad we stuck with it.
12 months later, 2012, round one, you debut, and it was against the enemy. It wasn't a win, but you got to debut for the Rabbits against the Chooks. Take us back to how that came about and what that moment meant to you.
I got the nod from Madge. Had numerous chats and lengthy conversations with Madge about obviously there being a spot for me, and whether I wanted it or not, I would have put my head down in pre-season, and it doesn't matter what anyone said about you or your resume, it's open book and it's anyone's job. So, he certainly made me a lot tougher than what I was, through that year in the pre-season, and I got a lot of credit to Frank, to Madge, to getting me where I was. But yeah, obviously that day, I knew I was ready. I'd been waiting there for 12 months, learning the game and studying the game through other halfbacks and trying to better myself, not only on the field but off the field as well. And it was a mix of emotions on the night. Obviously very pleased and happy that I got to achieve my dream, but it came crashing down pretty quick when we sort of got dusted on the bell there, and I was right in it. Unfortunately missed the tackle on Minicello, which if I had my time now and had a bit more experience, I probably would have tackled him without the ball and sent it to overtime and gave the boys a chance. So, obviously there's things there that you wish you could change, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and lucky enough we got the return serve later that year.
You mentioned Madge, Michael Maguire. It was his first game too as coach of Souths. He's the one that gave you your dream. I've heard it said before there's always a pretty special bond between a player and the coach who gives him his start. Is that true, or is it not really significant?
In my case it is. I've got a lot of respect for Madge and what he done for me in my career, and not only my career but what he done to South Sydney. He came in and turned the whole joint on its head and basically instilled a level of professionalism that wasn't probably there at South years before. And, got the club on the upwards, and obviously success in 14. And I got a lot of praise of Madge. I highly rate him as a coach, and the unfortunate terms of it happened with him leaving the club. It ended on a sour note.
As a first grader, my opinion was that you arrived immediately. Your class was evident. Now, it's easy to say. Halfbacks are meant to own teams and run the team. Is it difficult for a 21-year-old to walk into a side full of men and own a footy side?
In my circumstance, probably not. I had John Sutton, who's probably played around 100, 150 games by then. Madge basically said to me it was my team and I needed to run it. And I had a pretty simple job in the start, though. I'd virtually make me tackles, organise the boys around and make sure I get a good kick at the end of the set. I wasn't forced to do anything that I couldn't do. And, I had Johnny Sutton there who was guiding me through better than anyone probably could have. He's well experienced. He reads the game probably better than most. He's so smart and has a great understanding of the game, and not many people realise that. But he probably nursed me through the first half of the year without me sort of knowing the game too much. He probably steered the ship a bit there, and I learned a hell of a lot from him.
You're listening to Andy Raymond Unfiltered, the Legends series. We have corporate and private sponsorship packages available. You set the terms. For further information on how you can become part of the team, go to the website andyraymondunfiltered.com.au and hit the sponsorship tab.
Is leading natural for you? I ask because not just on the field but in life, some people just love that extra responsibility, that pressure or workload. Others just keen to cruise. It's not for everyone. Is it natural for you to lead on a footy field?
Well, it's natural for me to talk on the footy field, obviously. Being a halfback is my job, and you got to earn that authority and guide the boys around. In saying that, I grew up a pretty shy kid. I didn't really talk too much. I didn't like all the headlines or anything, and sort of shied away from conversation with people. And I've sort of learnt that as time's gone on, and that's probably one thing. Again, I credit to Madge. He brought me out of my shell and made sure that I was vocal and get amongst it and being active and involved as much as I could. And I've just learnt to sort of voice my opinion now and obviously speak up when needed be. And it probably took a bit longer than expected and that I'd like, but it's finally starting to come out. And depends what sort of leadership you talk about as well, Andy. I find actions are stronger than words most times. And my style of leadership would probably be a bit more through actions rather than words.
Is there still a shy little boy inside at times?
That boy's probably gone, Andy. Yeah, it's pretty hard to shut me up these days. It's, once they got it out of me, mate, I couldn't put it back in. No, I thoroughly enjoy it now. I found a loving for it, and I think it's great to be involved and obviously amongst it. As a young bloke, you sit back and just watch all the older boys voice their opinions and think, geez, I'd love to be like that one day. And you soon find a respect for when you do it. It becomes easier, and you learn a hell of a lot more from voicing your opinion. You might not be right most of the time, but if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you say, others tend to follow.
Mate, you walked into a very impressive team. Collectively, they were good. Individually, they were good. Was there anyone in those early days that you were in awe of?
Probably Johnny Sutton. I was a bit afraid of it at first. Not afraid, but I was a bit timid of. Just because he was a big body, big dominant voice.
He is too. Yeah. And John Sutton is one of those guys that if you haven't been up close to him, you don't realise just how huge the unit is.
He's a massive body, and when he talks, everyone listens, and that's the thing that sort of timid me a bit, because I thought I was right sometimes on the field, and he'd say something else, and I'd just nod my head and agree with him, or whereas if these days, if he was my 5'8", I'd probably try and work with him and word things a bit different, but look, I learn a hell of a lot from him, and I use a bit of those traits today with other players, and I try and be as open as I can with other players. But he was pretty timid to come into, and I can just remember him being pretty dominant. Not only on the field but off the field. He didn't really talk much in meetings, but when he did, certainly everyone shut up and listened to him, and he got his point across.
Yeah, certainly a guy that I've found has got a presence about him. Now, playing for the team you supported, playing for the team you loved, 3 seasons into your first-grade career, you had the opportunity at a premiership. Some players don't ever get the chance. What do you remember most about 2014?
Yeah, I probably thought we were more ready in 13, to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought that's one that we lost. I remember having the opportunity against Manly in the qualifying final, and we just couldn't nail it. And coming into 2014, the pre-season, I could still feel the hurt, around the locker room, and the desire to want to, achieve it and finally knock it on the head. And, we started that year pretty well, and we cruised along probably right up until the semi-finals, where we were just getting through games comfortable, and we found the blueprint that worked for us, and we sort of had this feeling towards the end of the year where we were just riding the wave, and no matter what was in front of us, we were just going to, knock it out of the way, and we were just going to get right through it. And that's exactly what happened, mate. I remember Ben Teo coming back from a lengthy suspension and just giving us a whole lot of energy and, an outburst of emotion, and not only that, but the ride and the emotion from the fans. They actually believed that we could do it. And when you get all that right, you get the mix of emotion and all the drama that goes along with it. It's pretty hard to stop a team that's, in that rhythm. And we definitely felt like we had that rhythm through the semi-finals and obviously on grand final night. What
about the week leading into it? Is it what you expected? Is it overwhelming? Is it tiring? Frustrating? Do you just want to get to the game?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd never been there before. Obviously, played in the 20s, but there was nothing like the build-up to the 20s.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to it. I always, as a kid, watched the grand final footy show and, I tried to picture myself being there on that night and being involved in it. And but I'm still a fan of the game. I'm still a kid at heart that loves, watching footy and seeing those big moments, whether it be in Origin and grand finals. I'm very much a kid in that arena and love seeing all the hype around the game. So I just thoroughly enjoyed the week. To be honest, we didn't train anywhere near we would for a week of footy. We probably had one or two sessions, but we kept it pretty light-hearted.
Okay.
I remember we could all be joking around on the fan day. I got one of the football manager, Mark Ellison, I sconned him when he was giving a big announcement. With a footy, I kicked it from about 30 metres away and hit him straight in the head. So
that's a mood lightener straight away.
Yeah, he took it pretty well too, Ello. He's a great character, and I thought, mate, as soon as I hit him on the head, he was going to turn around and give me a gobful. But there was probably 5,000 people there watching him, and I got away with that one. That's a beauty. So
I love it.
Yeah,
Griffin Air Conditioning offers the highest quality of air conditioning sales and service across the Sydney metropolitan area, providing installation and maintenance to commercial, domestic and industrial customers. Working with this team, you'll be guaranteed the latest services, technology and developments in the industry. Visit griffinair.com.au and tell them we sent you for a cool deal.
A night grand final, others that I've spoken to over the years say it is the longest fucking day of your life. What did you do to fill in the hours?
As little as possible. I think every night game is the longest day ever.
Yeah.
I still hate playing at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night on a weekly basis. It's something that I've had to learn of, getting the day going. Like to, get outdoors, have a bit of a walk, get back into bed, have a bit of breakfast, sleep, watch a movie, have another sleep, about 2 or 3 showers through that time just to try and kill time. And it's one of those things that's pretty hard to ignore. Obviously, the build up and whatnot, it's going through your head. And I can't remember much about the day, but from experience, obviously, night games, it does drag on and go for ages.
What do you remember about the game itself? Are there standout moments, or is it a blur to this day?
I only remember probably 2 or 3 moments through that game, which is strange because I'm pretty good with remembering parts in games. And I don't know if it's the amount of alcohol we consumed after it, but lost a few brain cells that game. I remember hitting semi-parrot high.
Is that okay?
This allowed for our first try, which is a strange moment for me because I actually thought I hit the ball and slid up and then hit him. That was one moment. I remember the moment of scoring the try.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously kicking the goal that put us up by, I think it was 14.
Yeah.
And I just remember running out. Obviously, we came out first and the Dogs didn't come out for a good 5 or 6 minutes after us. So I can remember just soaking it all in and, getting a few kicks on the ground and obviously getting those nerves out before they got out there, which was probably a blessing in disguise for us because none of us had sort of been there besides probably GI and maybe Lottie and a few others maybe, but it was near to all of us. So it was the unknown of us running out and obviously soaking in the atmosphere and for them not coming out for a couple of minutes was probably a blessing in disguise because we got all our nerves out of the way and then switched on the game mode from there.
Mate, 12 months later, almost to the day, a rumour started somewhere and built momentum quickly because it's rugby league and that's exactly what happens in rugby league daily, that you wanted out of Souths and you may have been headed to the Gold Coast. It didn't happen. What do you recall of that?
I was playing golf that day and I remember getting about 1,000 phone calls, which was odd. And one of my best mates rang me and said, mate, check Twitter because your name's all over Twitter and apparently either you're out or South is off you or I don't know what's going on. But I remember just getting on the Twitter and seeing about 1,000 comments just saying that I wanted out of South and I was asked for a release or whatever it was and sort of jumped on the phone and quickly got moving and seeing what was going on and don't know exactly or to this day where the rumour comes from, but we never had any serious discussions or never even talked to the Titans. So the weather up there is beautiful and all rosy, but I'm red from quite heart, mate, and never crossed my mind about leaving.
It's a weird thing, isn't it, social media, and you guys, I guess, are the first generation of athletes with social media around you, but many times it can, I'm not going to say ruin a player or a person or a club, but it can cause serious issues with something that is completely unfounded.
Yeah, it can, and that's where, as athletes, we need to be smart. And, at South, they do a fair job of, teaching us the ins and outs about social media and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And, it's still hard to block out the people who get personal and, have their attacks on you. And I think it comes down to the person, the individual, on how they respond to it. And, I can see why the people do respond, whether it be aimed at, themselves or family members or the team in general. But, for myself, I like to block it out and not give them the time of day. Just, acknowledge them or anything. Just, read it, let go and move on from it. Everyone's entitled to opinions at the end of the day, but when it gets personal, it kind of crosses the line a bit there.
That's the line, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, I think that's the line, but as athletes, mate, we've got to know that that's coming and that's, people are going to try and bring us down and have shots at us, and we've just got to be, grown-ups and know to read it and move on. If it's something that's racialised or, if they have personal attacks on us, they can obviously speak to people at the club or at the NRL, and we can deal with it in better ways rather than getting ourselves in trouble. And I think the NRL and clubs, obviously I know South do it, they brief us on what's coming and how we can avoid it.
Has that been difficult or easy to adjust to that? Because rightly or wrongly, whatever you do, wherever you go, whenever it is, there's very little privacy for an NRL player.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part. We're human beings at the end of the day that are just doing something that's our job or that we love doing. Numerous times where I've taken the family out to dinner and whatnot, and people have basically pushed the kids out of the way and the wife out of the way to get a photo. And, it's hard it's not hard for me because I'm briefed and I know how to deal with that stuff. But
it's hard for a wife and kids. What do you tell the kids? You're having a night out at a restaurant or at a park with them and the cameras arrive. What do you say to, you got 4 under 11, mate? Yeah,
well, I try and go to places where I'm pretty comfortable with, Andy. I don't venture too far out from home where, I don't know or I'm uncertain with the area around me. If I go to cafes, I know the cafe owner, or if I go to restaurants, I know the owners where I can sit there and, they've got a close eye on me as well, which is obviously good. Yeah. So I try and be smart with it that way.
If you're enjoying Andy Raymond Unfiltered, the Legends series, we'd love for you to go to Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening and subscribe to the podcast and give us a 5-star rating and review. Best weekly review wins an Unfiltered Truckers hat.
I've seen you with fans, and I think you're wonderful with the fans, and I think a credit to a lot of the guys. I think they're the fans get a huge buzz out of meeting you guys, and I think 95% of the players do a wonderful job too.
And I think that's our responsibility to give back, because we were fans once before, and if there's a young kid there that's too shy to come up and ask for a photo or whatnot, I'll approach them and actually ask them if they want a photo, or
that's lovely.
They're just looking to say hello. Because I think we were once in their shoes and we idolised players, and it's our duty of care to sort of give back and hopefully make them or make their day. You never know what someone's going through until you sort of ask a question.
Mate, we've known each other and been mates for, I guess, 9 or 10 years. You're always smiling, you're engaging, you're polite, respectful and positive. That's a lovely rap, I think, to say about anyone. But I actually believe it's the real you. Is that a fair call?
Yeah, I'd say so. well, I've been brought up the right way. Mum and Dad done a great job with me and my brother. And respect's the first thing that I'll show to any person I meet. It's the lasting effect that you want on someone. I don't want someone going off and talking bad about me to someone else and getting that name out there. I want to be respectful, and I believe if you treat others with respect, you'll get it back. And at the end of the day, I just try and be, myself. And even though I might be grumpy at times, you still got to show that level of respect to others.
Let's go back onto the field. Bucket list moments. Was your State of Origin debut one of them? Was Game 1 2016?
Yeah, it was definitely a bucket list. I was sort of getting sour with rugby league at that time in my career. I was going through a bit of a flat patch, and just a week in, week out grind of things, and obviously not getting the results on the field. I was sort of starting to, turn away from the game a little bit and having doubts about it. But then obviously I was lucky enough to get the call up from Loz, who I respect tremendously, and it made me fall in love with the game again. I had such a great, camp, and got to spend some time with players I've never played with before, and loved every bit of the arena. They say everything, what they say about it's true, mate. It's fast, it's physical, it's tough. There's no hiding on that field, and I loved every bit about it.
As blue number 260, you played 2 games. What did you take from the experience? Did you come away a better player, better person?
I came away tougher.
Yeah.
I came away with a lot more knowledge about it. I certainly learned a hell of a lot through them weeks, and I wish I could have played the third game. I got ruled out with injury, which wasn't ideal. But I'd love to get back there one day, mate, and obviously represent New South Wales once more. And whether or not I get the chance, I'll always strive to get back to that standard, and hopefully one day it pays off.
I guess the 8 years since you made your debut, that the next generation has arrived with, I guess, Ash Taylor and Nathan Cleary, Tommy Dearden, amongst others. Has the halfback changed in your time, or are they just getting a little bigger, a little stronger, and a little faster?
A bit of everything, I suppose. You can say it's changed, but you look at blokes like Thurston and Cronk, from Andrew Johns, the way they read the game and applied themselves through teams. I think a lot of it has to do with certain structures in different teams.
Yep.
When you think about it, there's halves that play on both sides of the field. There's halves that play on one side of the field. A lot has to do with structures, but obviously the younger boys that are coming through these days, I've been really impressed with. Obviously Nathan Cleary, over the time he's debuted to now, he's certainly grown, and he's made that Penrith team his own. And someone of late I've been really impressed with is Tommy Dearden. I think he's got a bright future, and got a lot of respect for him. Playing him, on his debut, I think it was his debut game, how much he's grown since then to the other night when we played him down in Sydney. He was, had a hell of a game, and got a lot of questions asked at the end of the game, which I like that from a young bloke. He's willing to learn, and
that's nice.
He's got a big future ahead of him.
Mate, I'm going to toss a date at you and see if it rings a bell. February 25, 2020. Anything?
It's Charity Shield, isn't it?
You were named as captain of your beloved South Sydney.
I thought it was the first game as captain, sorry. I was close.
Where does that rate?
It's up there.
Yeah.
I never thought it'd come. I thoroughly believe that Sammy Burgess would be still playing for another 3 or 4 years, and he'd be the captain throughout that time. And obviously, when you look to blokes like Cameron Murray, Campbell Graham, who's been tremendous for us, there's a host of boys there that are willing and deserving, but obviously very grateful for the opportunity from Wayne. I didn't know too much about the role until I stepped into it, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't know if I'd like it before becoming a captain. I thought there was a lot of pressure and responsibility, and I didn't know if I wanted that. But since getting it, mate, I've loved it, and I only reckon I've grown as a player and person since.
Many say that is the test, whether you actually mature as a player, and I think you have. I think it suits you. But essentially, not a whole lot does change on the field.
No, not a lot on the field. as a halfback, you're pretty much a general anyway that gets out there. And if anything, last year Semi was sort of looking a bit to his halves, you know, to calm him down. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm just flipping a coin and you know, they're doing a few things extra before the game or after the game. But you know, when you're out there playing, not much changes. Obviously, with the Captaincy Challenge now, you've got to be a bit more active and involved, but you still look to others to help you out in that area. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
I know the answer is I only want to play ever with South Sydney. So, in that regard, what does it mean, or what would it mean to finish a one-club player?
Yeah, it's a pretty rare thing to do these days.
Yeah.
Look, there's a lot of things I want to do, Andy, but unfortunately time's running out. So I'm almost up to 200 games. My goal would be to get to 300 games for South.
Yeah.
I'm only Sutton's that have done it. So
that'd be something special?
Yeah, it would be, mate. There's a couple of goals at South. Obviously, the top point scorer, Eric Sims, is the first grade point scorer there. He's a couple hundred points in front, so that's obviously a goal. And look, I've still got one more year to go there, and hopefully we can work something out and come to an agreement and get another couple of years there. But look, not only the immediate future, but long term, I'd love to still be involved with the club, whether it be through coaching or development or something like that. I've got a lot of love for the game, and I'd love to give back to the game once I'm done.
From the shy kid to a wonderful communicator and also ambassador for South Sydney and Rugby League. For the rest of 2020 and your journey beyond, I wish you nothing but safety and success. Adam Reynolds, you, sir, are a legend.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Legends series. Throughout the month of September, we're dropping a new episode every third day. Be sure to subscribe to the Andy Raymond Unfiltered podcast wherever you're listening, and to ensure you don't miss any news on what's coming up, follow one of our social media pages at The Andy Raymond. Come back soon, legends.